Hello, welcome to the Always Typing podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. As the owner of the company and your resume writer, it is my goal to ensure that you are successful in the hunt for your dream career with professionally written resumes, LinkedIn optimization, and interview preparation. Today, we will be talking about telephone interviews. As I mentioned in my very first podcast, hiring managers are really overwhelmed with the numbers of resumes that they receive. They make that initial sort of whom they want to talk to just by flipping through to see which resumes look good on paper. Once they've made that initial sort, a lot of them these days are moving on to a simple telephone interview. The reason that these companies are using telephone interviews, quite frankly, is because it's a first line of defense to weed out candidates. They can tell just by talking to you over the phone whether they feel like you would be worth their time to meet in person. They get an impression of how you handle yourself based on your tone of voice, whether you speak clearly, how you answer those initial questions. They don't want to waste a lot of time meeting you if you're not going to be beneficial to their company, or if they think that you're not going to be somebody that they're willing to hire. They also don't have to worry about having, security in place for unauthorized personnel coming into their building. They don't have to have overhead with separate rooms to meet you in. A lot of companies do have little conference rooms set aside for meeting with interviewees, because they don't want them to come into their offices where there might be confidential client information and things like that. So they don't have to worry about setting aside any of those special places if they can weed you out on the telephone. The bottom line is that the telephone interview is fast, cheap, and they can tell if you're crazy before they invite you into their offices. So there's some steps that you need to take in order to prepare for a telephone interview, because even though they can't see you, they're still judging you. They're judging whether or not you have the capacity to prepare yourself for even a simple telephone interview. You need to make sure that you find a good location, that you have good reception on your phone. So it's very important probably to use a landline if that's at all possible. But if you don't have a landline and you use a cell phone, good reception is very important, because they're not going to take the time to talk to you if you keep breaking up because you're losing cell signal. You want to make sure that there are no background noises, no dogs barking, the kids aren't coming in bothering you, and no distractions. So keep Netflix off. You don't want to be watching a movie while you're trying to do an interview and getting distracted by what may be on the television screen. And those are just a few examples. I can certainly help you with further examples if you'd like to contact me to help you. Another thing is prepare notes, just as you would if you were going into a face-to-face interview. Research the company, come up with, answers to the general questions that everybody asks, the tell me about yourself question, what are your weaknesses questions, those questions that that every interviewer is going to ask. Prepare answers for them, even for the telephone interview. And then they're always going to ask you at the end of that telephone interview if you have any questions for them. And I guarantee you better have some questions for them, because that's going to help them gauge not only your level of preparedness, but also how interested you are in the position itself. One of the things that you can do whenever you prepare the answers to your interview questions is use the STAR method. This method has become more and more popular. Interviewers want to see you use this method because, quite frankly, it shows them that you can learn from what goes on around you. So basically, STAR is the anagram. It's situation, task, action, and result. So you talk about the thing that happened. You talk about what needed to be done regarding the thing that happened, what you did to facilitate what needed to be done, and then what the result was from your actions. And if you can throw in a thing that you learn whenever you're talking about the result, that makes it even better. You get a well-rounded answer, and they know that you learn from what happens around you. Now we've come all the way to the day before the telephone interview. Your nerves are probably a little rattled. You're getting kind of excited because you're about to talk to the people for the job that you're getting. So make sure you're continuing to practice the answers that you've prepared. You don't want to come across as overly nervous. It's okay to sound nervous. Like, I know that I sound nervous right now. I'm talking to you guys as a professional resume writer and an interview preparation person. I'm used to talking to people, and even I know that I sound nervous right now. Nervousness is a normal human response, emotional response to things that are going on. I've never done podcasts before, so I'm nervous. It is actually okay to be nervous. They expect you to be nervous. Another thing that you want to do is make sure that you choose the outfit you're going to wear, because yes, you still do need to dress like you would if you were going to an interview. Maybe not like professional business attire, but you definitely want to have at least business casual attire on. One, it's going to make you feel better about yourself. So when you're talking to these people on the phone, you're going to have the confidence that you would if you were talking to them in person, because you feel like you're where you need to be. You'll be really surprised if you talk to somebody in your pajamas. You're a little more relaxed. You're not really paying that close of attention to everything that's being said. But if you're dressed and you're sitting up straight and you're in a comfortable chair and there's no distractions or noise, you're going to be more present in that interview so that you can give your full attention and you can exude that confidence that comes with dressing the part and making sure that you're participating fully in that telephone interview. Now, during the telephone interview, you want to smile. One of my favorite expressions it came from Dolly Parton on a movie. I think it was Steel Magnolias, but I could be wrong. Smile, it increases your face value. I use that all the time, and I use it here because I kind of want you to think about that when you're doing your telephone interview, because if you're thinking about Dolly Parton saying smile that increases your face value, just that alone is going to make you smile. Show enthusiasm. You know, you're talking with a person. Yes, they're an interviewer. They have the decision in their hands whether to hire you, whether to move on to the next interview phase. So just because they may hold your future in your hands, be conversational. They're just a person. They're not some god that you're talking to who's going to smite you if you say the wrong thing. So make sure you have your personality and let that personality show. They want to know that you're a human being, and so that's why nervousness is okay. They expect it. But that personality is going to help them know whether or not you can get along in the culture of their company. Make sure you also speak clearly, and don't forget to refer to your notes. Also, a thing that I didn't put in my presentation here, my notes for you guys, I had a friend who would talk people's ears off. She never knew when to stop talking. I literally printed out a little miniature stop sign and I put it inside her folio. Whenever she went on interviews, she had this pad folio. She'd have her resume in the pocket on one side and she'd have her notes on the notepad part on the other side. Well, I taped this miniature stop sign inside her pad folio so that whenever she would be talking to people and answering questions, she could remember to stop. You don't have to drone on and on and on about your answers. Make them succinct, make them clear, and then when you're done, stop. You can also pause for a few seconds. If you want to say like 5 Mississippis, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, in your head before you actually start to answer the question, it will give the interviewer the idea that you think before you speak. So how you answer, the timing that you use when you answer, and the ability to stop talking are all really important. So that's why it's super, super important to have notes so you know what you're going to say and you don't just go off on some tangent. And then when the telephone interview is done, ask them what the next steps are. That's actually a really good question to have in your Padfolio for the end of the interview. Ask them what the next steps are. You can ask them, if there was anything during the interview that they thought that you needed to improve upon. Of course, there's a better way to word that, but that way, if there is a future interview with this company, you kind of know what it is that they're wanting to look for. If they have any online tests that you need to complete or drug screenings, make sure you do that at the time that they're scheduled. You don't want to go and be late for a drug screening or do an online test the day after it's supposed to be done if you're trying to impress them. And then shoot them an email thanking them for their time. You should always, always, always thank your interviewer for their time. So that's what I have as far as the interview preparation for telephone interviews for this podcast. Please let me know if you have any questions. I look forward to speaking to you. If you need to contact me, my information is here on this business card. If you're in Colorado, call this number. If you're in Louisiana, call this number. But ultimately, I do everything virtually via email, text. You can text me. Those are mobile numbers, so you can text me. But I look forward to talking to you. Even if you just want to shoot me an email and ask me a question, I'll be here to answer it for you. Thank you for joining me. I hope you have a fantastic day, and good luck to you.